Hello, revolutionary thinking. I am here with another member who just joined my server, my philosophy world, if you will, and he is part of the autonomy course. This is the most fascinating kind of global kind of situation that I've ever seen before. So, believe it or not, he's from Germany. He moved to Jamaica, and it seems like he has a Jamaican accent. And that to me is so interesting. This man's name is Dennis Eckhart. And I guess I'll start by asking him, uh, Dennis, what was the whole idea of going from Germany to Jamaica? What was the whole modus operandi for you?
Well, to stir up the mix a little more and to add some more ingredients, um, what brought me to Jamaica was capoeira. And capoeira, of course, being an Afro-Brazilian martial art means that um, me, as somebody who was born and grown up in Germany, spent 15 plus years teaching an Afro-Brazilian martial art to Jamaican children and youths in the inner city of Kingston. So there we go.
That's very fascinating. What got you interested in that martial arts? Like, what did your parents know anything about it? Was there like something you found out in Germany? You looked at something online?
Mm, I was into martial arts from I was like 6 years old. So I had trained like in a variety of martial arts before. And it was I saw something on TV. I think it was on a sports channel, and I saw some kind of martial arts demonstration in France. And there was some guys just doing something like totally different. It looked just so different. And there was music and movement and all kind of acrobatics. And it was just like, yeah, I've never I hadn't seen that before. And then I started to ask around, the trainers and coaches I had, and they said, "Oh yeah, I think I know somebody. There's somebody teaching it right here." And then, so through some friends of friends of friends, I came to know what later became my master, my capoeira master, who is a Brazilian guy who has been living in Germany for 25 years now. And yes, so he became my capoeira master, and I joined capoeira. And at first, I started to train capoeira along with karate at the same time. But like after a year and a half or so, it just became obvious to me that this was something that I did not only want to do, but I wanted to be that. So little by little, I left all the other stuff, and then this was something that became not only like a sport, but eventually became like a way of life, a philosophy of life for me.
That's
Yeah, yeah,
interesting. So it's called capoeira.
exactly, yeah.
Ah, that's fascinating. So what? So are your parents both German?
Yes, yeah, they're both German.
Okay, and how? Oh, and for you all and your brothers and sisters.
As well, yeah, straight
Yes,
German as far as I can
great
see.
German. Okay, okay, and that's then what was their reaction when did you just say hey I want to go to Jamaica and study this martial art form? What did they think?
Well, I think life and they themselves also kind of prepared me for what would come later, because like I can appreciate so much now, like when I remember back my childhood. And so like my parents always, they took us out to the playground in the woods, or like when there was holidays, you would jump in a car and like go to Austria, go to Italy, and drive all over the place. So they made like a big effort, of showing us the world and going to different places. And I can see now like how that in a way prepared me for for later, like hitchhiking throughout Europe and going to different capoeira encounters and meetings. Yeah, like kind of finding my way in life, and discovering different places. And so capoeira kind of helped me to, it assisted me in further opening up the world to me, and it gave me um, tools. It's like a tool for getting to talk to other people, discovering other places. And before I went to Jamaica in 2004, I traveled to Brazil 4 times, and I lived there, at times six months at a time, and four months another time, and kind of discovering Brazil. So I kind of slowly adapted my social surroundings, my parents, to the fact that I was gone for a few months here, a few months there, And Jamaica really came on the map mostly through music in the first place. So I started to really like love reggae music, which I still do. So that's something, that's a big passion of mine. And because like I was into capoeira, and capoeira is associated with the colonial times in Brazil, because it was a weapon in the hand of the oppressed against the oppressor. Slaves used it to free themselves from physical slavery, and used it against the slave drivers basically. So I had a little bit of background knowledge through capoeira about the culture and history of Brazil. And then of course through reggae music I started to research about Jamaica and find out about this island, and like wanted to know what reggae is all about, and kind of get a idea of the vibe of the philosophy of reggae. And it had like this like philosophy of liberation, this vibe also like of the poorest of the poor kind of expressing themselves, and I could identify with that. And I was like, wow, like it seems and then even so, and I'm not sure if you know about the Maroons. Have you ever heard about
No,
Maroons?
I heard like being marooned is like being
Mm-hmm.
deserted, but does that have anything to do with it, or is that?
Yeah, yeah. Well, in a way, like Maroons were like former slaves that basically freed themselves from slavery, and in that case, that happened in Jamaica and in many other countries in the diaspora as well. But in Jamaica, you had a very strong Maroons movement. So it was first the Spanish, and later the English took over as a colonial power of Jamaica. And so slaves that managed to free themselves, they would run away in the backland in the mountains, hide themselves, and basically fight back the military expeditions and the bounty hunters that were sent to
Oh wow.
recapture them, and those were called Maroons in Jamaica. And in Brazil, you had a
Ah,
similar movement, and in Brazil they were called Quilombolas. But that movement in Brazil was like huge. It was like thousands of people basically creating an alternative society in the backland of
wow,
Brazil. So
wow.
when I heard about that movement in Jamaica as well, that there was Maroons, that there's reggae music, and it's so, the philosophy seemed like similar to the kind of vibe of capoeira, because that stood for freedom and
Hmm.
liberation for me. So I
Hmm.
thought like, wow, I have to go find out if there was capoeira in Jamaica, and nobody could tell me. So I kept on asking all the maestros and masters. I researched and I
Ah,
couldn't find anything. So I said, okay, I have
so
to go
so
pack my backpack and check it out myself.
so you're married to a Jamaican.
Hmm.
Are you
Yeah,
okay? So you met in her in Jamaica, your
yeah, we
wife.
met in Jamaica.
You
Yeah.
met in Jamaica. So then, you told me it was her idea for you guys to move back to Germany, or
Yeah, it was
was
a.
it?
She had a strong wish of experiencing life somewhere else, but Jamaica, and but like, and so circumstances like worked out in a way that it was just the right thing to do. So, but she definitely had a strong wish of experiencing life somewhere else. And then of course we had been traveling over the years. We have two children. So my daughter Emma she's gonna be 6 next month, and my son Luca is 2 years right now. So when I came to Jamaica, I came on my own, and it was a different situation then. And yeah, and then we married together. We have two children now, so now it's a family. It's four of us, and so it's yeah, and the situation we didn't even know. We didn't leave. It was an end of November last year. We didn't leave and say okay, we're gone, but actually we just went to spend another Christmas and New Year with family here, and I was open for the possibility, that more things could develop. And I said, because one of the focuses of my for me for the last months and maybe year or so was that ever more I wanted to focus on the flow. Like in
Yeah.
capoeira we have a flow of movement, and it's good to go with the flow and to be in the
Hmm.
rhythm. So I want to really be where life guides me to be, and I wanted to focus on that, not only what logic and reason says, or what other people say, or what is
Right.
the obvious good thing to do, or what people tell you to do, but I wanted to really follow that flow of life,
Intuition a little bit.
intuition, right? So I
Yes.
wanted to feel out, where doors are opening and where things are leading. And so I accepted that, if that I would know, and that we would know where things where our future lies. And so since then, things have been working out quite well over here. um,
Mm.
and so it is really like a transformative phase, I guess, of
I
my life in a
see.
way.
And Dennis, how did your wife, did she did she ever learn to speak German, or do they probably speak enough English in Germany? How's she getting along with like the
Mhm.
culture there and the people there? Is everything like good and
Yeah, well, she was obviously exposed to some of it before,
mm,
during our trips while we came here. But also, like, it's a difficulty actually because, as you say, like a lot of people here speak English, and it's obligatory in school to learn English at least for a few years for everybody. And then, especially if you talk, to younger people and so, like, they will understand English pretty well mostly, and speak it as well. So, of course, then you're not encouraged to learn English so much if you know that a lot of people around you will understand you or like will be able to basically communicate with you. And then so she has been studying, and she took books and some different classes, but yeah, she isn't like fluid in German as yet. And then so Emma and myself are working hard on her these days
uh,
because I speak German with Emma, like with both of our children. I spoke German with them from the get-go, so they're, well, Luca is not talking too much, but he also, like, he communicates in English and in German. And it's interesting like how they can differentiate, like sometimes in the middle of a sentence, like he will just swap around. And yeah, and Emma as well, she's fluent in German, so we're working on her heavily these days.
that's fascinating. And I guess what did you do for a living in Jamaica and here now in Germany?
Mhm.
Like to make money.
Well, my goal, I went to Jamaica with the idea and with a goal to positively impact especially children and young people's lives through capoeira, because capoeira has been like a transformative thing in my life, and it really turned my life around, not a little bit but like by 180 degrees in many ways. And um and uh, I had the feeling that it would be something that fulfills me in the future or for my life, or that gives my life a purpose, if I could give or if I could lend that experience to others as well. And I felt that while Germany would have probably given me structure, and it's a place that I grew up in and I know how things work, and at the time being there wasn't so much other capoeira groups even in the area right here, so I thought I could have established myself and maybe make more of an economic be more successful economically here. But I decided to go to Jamaica because I really wanted. Um, I thought I would feel fulfilled, like knowing and seeing what capoeira, the good that capoeira could provide in other people's lives. And I thought that finding out about the dire situation of especially children and youths in the inner city of Kingston, that this would be something that I would enjoy. And yeah, so
So
that was really my goal to bring capoeira to Jamaica and to teach it in Jamaica and establish it there.
so were you getting paid to do these capoeira classes in Jamaica, or you were like a teacher, or you were doing something on the side, like capoeira was like on the side, and you were doing something else to manage the, I don't know, rent payments or whatever you
Mm-hmm.
might have had in Jamaica?
Well, my my plan was very well thought out. Like I had done a nutrition trainer and a fitness trainer license before going to Jamaica, because I thought like, oh, I want to do capoeira really for the rest of my life, so I have to know how to work out, I have to know how to eat in order to maintain
Hmm.
um,
Fitness.
like vitality and fitness over my life. And then I thought, oh. Um, I had the foresight to understand that I might not be making a lot of money by teaching inner city children and youth capoeira in Jamaica. So I thought maybe I could get like a day job and work like in a gym as an instructor, and kind of survive and stay afloat like that. And then in the evenings, do classes in the inner city. And so I prepared like I think it was like 30 like thick envelopes with all my, like people used to do it here in Germany, like it is like printed out resume and all my diplomas and certificates and everything, and I sent it from Germany to Jamaica like weeks before I would go there, and I sent it to literally like every gym that I could find online and that I researched, and every like fitness establishment that was there at the time. And I thought maybe I could get some feedback, or maybe I could even get employed, and of course nobody answered. because things just run
Mhm.
differently in Jamaica.
Mhm.
But that was my plan. That's what I had
I
in my
see.
mind before
And
going there.
and then so are you still doing capoeira now? Or are you teaching the German children that, or
Then,
is it just how is that working out now?
Well, definitely that is still my path. I haven't been teaching classes here. Well, I had some interactions with friends and parts of our group right here, and of course visiting my master who's still here in Germany. But the last few months for me really have been, besides autonomy, besides the autonomy course, it has really been kind of like a phase where things are seem to be downloading like for my mind, and where like a kind of restructure, and where I feel that I have the time and the opportunity to put more structure to my future, and to kind of what I feel what I came up with first is like a list of like 30 art projects that like I want to do, and that's like from some of the projects are related like heavily to Jamaica, and continue to working and supporting the projects there. Um, Others are like something that I want to do right here. It's preparing lectures. It's setting up sessions that are geared towards specific crowds, or specific some of them for children, some of them for adults or for elderly. So and it's heavily around the theme also of social capoeira, or capoeira for peace. So my specialty, or the skills that I have especially developed with my work in Jamaica, is how to use capoeira to positively transform and impact especially children and youth,
Yeah,
and how to
sure.
utilize capoeira to transfer
And
values. And
Dennis, this kind of piggybacks on what I really kind of want to get into and why we're all in autonomy. So you obviously went to public school in Germany, if I'm not mistaken.
yes, I did.
Or yes. And how do you think that that prepared you for the life that you wanted to live? Or do you think it's kind of like the public schools just all around the world, kind of like this robotic process with no, you know, help or guidance? Or go ahead. Yeah.
Mhm. It definitely prepared me in many ways for life. On in some aspects, it actually taught me some things, that were valuable and that I would use and I could find value in. But it also prepared me for life by showing me how not to do things. So sometimes, going back to Jamaica, when I work when I interact with students, with children, I can see now like how the pressure, mm, how the system has influenced them, and has sometimes narrowed their vision, how they're like caught in behavioral patterns, in kind of obedient, uh, uh, like how they're programmed to behave in certain ways that certainly has been kind of indoctrinated in a
Damaging
way by
or
school, and damaging as well. Yeah. So it's like so I can recognize that now, and I can see, of course, like Jamaican is a whole, it's a different culture, it's a whole different context, but then there's also similarities. So I can see, having gone to school here, and I had like a lot of I wouldn't say like problems, but like I had difficulties. Definitely, I can see, I can remember myself now, like sitting in school and trying to imagine myself like 10 years or 20 years ahead, and that's where I'm right now. So like now I'm thinking back, like sitting in school and feeling like imprisoned, and feeling that I was exposed, or that I was supposed to learn things that I couldn't relate to it. I didn't know what that was going to do for my life and how I would use it, and so that would create blocks within myself. Like before exams or so, like I wasn't a bad student, but I also wasn't the best, and especially like certain subjects, I was like really, it would just reflect that I couldn't relate to the subject, and because I didn't know how I would make use of that ever again. So I couldn't comprehend. And then like before like exams, and so I would get stressed out, and I couldn't sleep. And so yeah, it was really, yeah, I'm not sure if it was a trauma, but it was like a stress really that I felt. And then I felt really, like I couldn't relate so good many times with other people, because the behaviors that they would expose, and like some started smoking, others started doing this, and I couldn't just like relate to all of that. And I felt in a way, um I had friends and so, but they were only like to a certain level, and I always felt that, yeah, I was probably like out of place in some ways, and I felt,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
and remembering that now, what that was for myself, and seeing like how some of the children, like are also, are being hindered in their development, or are being,
Well,
by
do you think that the school kind of like hindered your creativity because capoeira seems something that's very creative. It has to do with emotions, maybe songs, just some kind of like arts. Do you think that all this arts and creativeness and maybe theater or anything that has to do with the more right creative side of the brain is not nurtured in these
Oh, definitely,
schools?
definitely. You see, I went to school 13 years, which is the amount of years you have to go to school here in order to be prepared for, I think, what you call A levels, or that prepares you for
Something like that.
university,
University, right, right.
right? So, um, and yeah, definitely, I could see how that crippled my creativity, and so when I finished that exam, that normally after you pass that exam, people go to university, study, and then do their
Hmm,
thing,
hmm.
and for me, it was like out of question. Like at that point of my life, I knew that where I don't want to go, and I had an idea of what I want to do. So I felt like that the whole educational system there, it was just for the head, like it was all learning to, to soak in some book knowledge, and then like vomit it out again, and then
Right.
empty out your head and throw it
But
again.
at least even for the head, you need some information about how you're going to manage yourself with your money, how you're going
Mhm.
to get employed, and employment that actually means something to you and it sustains your lifestyle. But do you even feel like those basics weren't even there? Because I felt like that.
You see, what I felt I was lacking is not theoretical knowledge, because I think that was pretty well established, like, and even like languages and stuff. So a lot of things that are made use of, but also because I could see I did like it, so I would take it in and I would further develop it after. But what I really was lacking was, let's call it wisdom, because like life experience, like I felt that I was missing out on life experience. I could theoretically imagine like how the world, how, I don't know, countries on the other side of the world looked, and how people, behaved, and so, because of having read about it. But then, being streetwise and street smart, having life experience, I thought I was lacking that. I was missing out on that by, sitting in the
Hmm,
classroom for
hmm.
so long.
I
And only
see.
when I did my first trip to Brazil, which also was like really a like life-changing experience. And then, like I was what, 17 at the time. And then, I would like see children and youths that were like half my age, or some of them were 10, 11 years, and they lived like in the favelas, in the streets. And I would like, have like a bunch of really amazing experiences there, and live with people in all different walks of life.
Mm,
And then I would
hmm.
see, wow, they didn't have education, they couldn't like speak
Right.
other languages,
So,
and didn't have the theory, but they had like they were street smart, and they
street
were
smart,
wise. And
exactly.
that's what I felt I was missing out. So I wanted that in life.
Let me just get your point of view because this should be pretty interesting. In the United States, we learn about Europe. We learn about kind of like medieval Europe, which I mean, it hasn't helped me much learning about Europe in the medieval times. I would have rather learned about it in the modern times. But then we learn about World War I and World War II, and Germany and the start of all those wars. So in Germany, in Europe, do you guys learn anything about the United States? Like, what do you ever talk about? What like if you do talk about the United States, what is your vision of us? Kind of like from there, because we kind of have a vision of you
Hmm. Ha. Well,
guys.
I can't really. Um, the only vision that I can explain is my vision, so I can never talk
Oh,
for
okay.
anybody else. So it's
For
really
okay,
only my
that's fine.
perspective.
So,
But
but
I,
in the schools, what do they teach you about the
hmm.
U.S.?
Well, I think the most I at my generation we would have learned in school. We were mostly exposed to America, American way of life, and American language as well in English during
English,
English lessons.
yes, yes.
And I think they're mostly like the English, but
Mm,
we would learn about the difference, like what, like how the different kind of words that English people would use and that American people would use, and then like the lessons in the books, and so they reflect some facts about America as well. But I think what even beside the school, like of course, like Germany itself, through because of the history that you even just mentioned as well, is heavily influenced by American culture. And Yeah, so if you look at language, for example, not only the fact that we learn English, but if you look at commercials, if you look at TV, if you look at what's happening with we call it Neudeutsch, like New German, like news. It's not newspeak, but it almost reminds me of that, like how English words more and more take over German language as well, or incorporate it, because also because of technology, like cell phones and all, like even the terms that come along with that. So there's like a heavy music as well. If you listen to
So
music,
you're highly commercialized with American things.
yeah, definitely.
When you go into a store, is there like American music playing in the background?
Oh, all the time. If you look at
Uh,
if you have radio stations and so, they will play, like everything that you would hear in the States as well, like rock music,
that's
oldies. You have like,
that's
yeah,
so
American
strange. And it's what usually like from Hollywood, like here. I think like
American
my
movies, right? Mhm.
right like my I think my Hollywood culture has been spread out throughout the world. I mean, I'm here in LA, and that's funny. So do German people ever like walk into stores and he's like, hey, why are we playing these American songs? Why don't we play German music or something like that?
Hmm. Well, you sure have those as well, but I think it's, from
Yeah.
my perspective at least, it's a minority. I think I think there's not many people around like really questioning that.
Right.
And that might be also due to the fact that this has been going on for several generations. Like after the
Mm,
Second World War,
yeah.
we still have like what, almost 40,000 American troops stationed here.
You
Um,
you do?
we take
Oh,
Yeah, we
wow.
technically we're not a sovereign state. We're still under occupation. So there's no, although people don't know about that, but you have like quotations of politicians and people who like confirm that we
Yeah.
technically, there has never been a peace treaty signed, and we're under occupation until 2099, I believe, by contract. So
Mm,
certainly there has been like a strong influence, and still is, of
interesting.
American, or like culture, in terms of the education system, in terms of like TV, in terms
Mm.
of
Well,
music.
I think we've come full circle with the education system because that America got its education system from Prussia, and Prussia was a part of Germany. So
Mhm.
it's this crazy thing where the people in Massachusetts, I think his name was Horace Mann, went and saw like the militarized education system in Germany, brought that here to America, and then brought it again to Germany.
Mhm.
But I think it's all bad. I mean, just the style of the way we teach and how we're not nurturing people's creativity and these kinds of expressions is like a failure on us to kind of see the potential in people.
It is used in favor for the few and against the many of us, isn't it?
Right, right. And I think like I'm certainly not one to say that I'm happy having troops our troops stationed over in Germany where like our country is kind of falling apart at the seams. I mean, a little bit. I don't know if you noticed, but a lot of jobs are being automated. We have like Skid Rows over here. People.
What is the Skid Row?
Oh, Skid Row is it's a place in LA, and it's like you go through some of these places in LA, man, like South Central. It's kind of like Jamaica, like people
Mhm.
pushing shopping carts on the streets, like boxes, tons of homeless people, broken down shops and things like that. I mean, the America that you'll probably see that is shown to you in different countries is not the America that like a lot of people are used to dealing with. Like they'll never show you like the squalor and the poverty in some of the places we have over here. I mean,
I
I
actually
don't know.
have researched it, and I have seen it with my own eyes as well. I was in California a few times, and yeah, so I could see it with my own eyes. And I, talking to people from there, everybody was just like pointing out the obvious, like how things change for the worst in such a rapid way. And like I said, like I could see and talk to so many people who, lost their homes, who are living in trailers, who are living in, camping out basically on the roadside.
Is that
Um,
happening in
yeah.
Germany too? Or
Um, I would say, well, there's definitely, we have like a huge immigration wave going on over here. So the demographic is definitely being changed in a large way.
but in
But
terms of
then
the poverty and the squalor,
mm, Well, numbers are going up definitely, but I don't like, I haven't seen like 10 cities or to that degree. I haven't experienced
Ah,
seeing it, but then
okay,
so
right.
maybe that's something, that's a tendencies you see,
I,
that people are more camping out and
I,
staying there, but it's
I
not
don't
anything.
know this, but I think that European cities and kind of thing tend to really be kind of more cleaner than what we have here in the United States. I mean, what I loved, I went to Sweden, and I just loved the
Mhm.
fact that the transportation was so good. Like, you could get on a bus, you could get on like something, you can be, and you could walk. Like maybe you could do that in cities like in the East Coast here, but a lot of places here on the West Coast. Have you noticed that when you were in California, like how transportation was kind of like non-existent? Everything is so far away from you, and you have to like drive or take a highway or road and things like that to
Yeah,
compare to Europe.
one of the things that stood out for me also, of America in general, the few places I was allowed to see there, and I'm happy to do so. It was really an amazing experience. Is it's geared so much towards cars, so everybody has a car, and like everything is large basically, huge parking lots and huge spaces for cars, and you can see that the
Right.
culture there is heavily influenced by people being
Right,
able to drive the car
right,
to
but
almost everywhere.
then you kind of lose the social aspect when it's so cars because everything is so distant. Everyone is just living in their box. Like a car is a box to get to another store, which is a box to go home in a box. Whereas in Europe, I feel like you could walk out, you can say hi, you can
Hmm.
like it's a bit more connected. It's not
Hmm.
so spread out. I mean, I don't
It
know.
is.
What do you think?
Yeah, yeah, it's true. The whole infrastructure in America seems like you said, be geared towards cars, and it disassociates people from having a meaningful relationship with the environment. Be it the social environment or the natural
Yeah,
environment as
yeah.
well.
Like this is what I wanted to talk about, like the social environment. I mean, just today I was I was canvassing out to talk to some of my neighbors about this autonomy course, and it's funny how I'm talking to you and you're online and you're miles away from me, like you're in another country. But over here, like in my own community, like I hardly get to know anybody. I mean, is it like that in Europe? Probably not. Probably like, would you do you know more of your neighbors? Do you talk or what's it like?
Mhm. I think you know I think you can never generalize, but I can see the tendency like on a global level, and I think it has to do with the technology, with the technology, with the advances in technology that we have been making. Everybody's on his cell phone 24/7. I can attest to that from Jamaica. Where every
It's
street dog has like three different cell phones. So so I'm really glad
yeah.
that now we're having actually a meaningful interaction and conversation like via technology. So
Yes.
it shows that the possibility is there, but I think
Yes.
how it's being used, or maybe also how it's being designed, or how the
Yes.
process is facilitated, it divides people,
Like
and it makes it harder for them
it's
to
interesting.
keep some
It's like I'm
communication.
having such a friendly, nice relationship with you, but we have this screen in front of us. But then if I go out to my neighbor, like that kind of relationship isn't really there, and he's just like over there, and you're all the way on the other side of the world.
Mm. Mm.
It's very fascinating how it connects people. It's a funny feeling that like the person on the other side of the screen is the person you'd want in closer proximity, and sometimes the person you have in close proximity, you wouldn't mind if they were on that other side of the screen because it's
True, true. And like,
it's
and
ironic
you
in a way.
see, I feel like life is continuously challenging us to, to develop bridges and to overcome those gaps at the end. That is something that autonomy really has been doing for me.
Right.
Even if there's like, at the first view, that you feel like, oh, that person is gonna be me, like I don't have anything to say to him or to her. They're not
Right.
really having
Right.
my vibe, but still to make the first step and still to overcome that. So I feel challenged now, even by those situations, and I think it's an excellent exercise that you're doing, and it's so important that we learn to relate to our neighbors, because like part of that information age that we're living in also is like, we're and you could say that purposefully being done, or we are geared towards finding out
Mhm.
what happens,
Be-
what terrible thing is
because
happening on the other side of the world, while we're
right.
disconnecting from our neighbors.
Right. And the funny thing is because how do it's like how do communities work? I mean, I know like I have a Congress member, but it's like when I send them emails or when I call them, like I mostly get ignored. But yet, all my neighbors are maybe out there, they're watching CNN or MSNBC, who never really get their opinion on anything, and they're watching some talking head behind a screen. But here we are as like living in the same community, and it's like we don't know each other, so it's kind of like we trust these people who are so far away from us and so far removed from us, and yet we're in the same community and we don't really know. I mean have you kind of noticed how the world is kind of turning like that? Like we trust someone all the way out there to give us the information, tell us what to do, but in proximity to us, it's like what's happening.
Hmm. When I hear community, like for me, it's like it's common or like that means it's together, So it for me it points in the direction of identifying, what is it that we have in common, what puts us together, and the illusionary physical world on the outside, that might, oh, your skin is brown, mine is black, this that one is green or whatever, so there might be differences at the first view, but still, if you really look beyond all of that, you will find something that we all have in common. And I think community springs from that, from recognizing that within myself and within everybody else, there's something that we have in common. So the challenge is,
Mhm.
to find it out. For some people, you have to dig very deep to find it, and for others, it's just right there.
Right.
Yeah.
I just think that some of these institutions are too bureaucratic, and they just make life kind of harder and more miserable than it has to be. I don't know.
I can see where you're coming from, and I see it the same way. Like I just said a while ago. In some people, they have layers and layers and layers that you have to dig through in order to reach there, and then just in those institutions, for some of them, you have to have like a very good shovel there to dig down to the bottom to find life
Right,
and to find love
right.
right
It's
there.
it's funny because if I was told that all this education was for me to get work, but then they say it's not what you know, it's who you know. But who are we getting to know over those years and years and years in public school?
Mm.
It's very ironic. I mean, that's to me. But anyway, I think it's been amazing speaking with you, and I want to know. So you joined my philosophy Discord. What's
Mhm.
the one thing that you really like about philosophy, Dennis?
Uh, the one thing I like about philosophy.
Or
you
there could be
know,
plenty of things. It's not.
yeah, you know, like somebody told me once, oh wow, and that was in Brazil. So you're from Germany, and so wow, so you speak German, right? I say, yeah, I speak a little German, and they say, wow, so you know, I've been wanting to learn German for so long. Is that what encouraged you to learn such a difficult language, And they say, no, because like I love philosophy, and so it's like, yeah, but you don't have to learn German. Yes, of course. They say you can only philosophize if you speak German. so so if one agrees with that point that you made, then I'm happy to speak German. So I'm obviously a philosopher just because I speak German. That's
Yeah,
easy.
that's
But
that's really funny. That's hilarious. It's like
yeah,
it's like you only need to speak if you want to create an apple strudel, you need to know how to speak German, even though that has nothing to do with cooking.
yeah. No, I think, and I told that often to the children in Jamaica that like I've been interacting with, and I say just because you're from Jamaica doesn't mean that you have to love Bob Marley or reggae or whatever, but you
Uh,
should at least know about it. You should have an
yeah,
idea
that's
about it.
that's
You know?
true. That's true.
Because it's part of your culture, it's part of where you come from. So for me, and I have a long way to go still, to catch up with much of the knowledge there. But and even being back here for me, like it's also like it's returning back home. It's returning to the culture I was born into. So it encourages me even more now to relate to those philosophers, to those um, yeah, like authors and amazing
Yeah,
people that stem from here, and to relate back to them and to learn more
yeah.
and relate to that. So I'm
and
really
and it's
excited for that.
great. Like everybody goes through their ups and downs, And I think like that's why it's so ridiculous. Like a lot of people still equate like Germany sometimes with the terrible things they did in World War II, but that was like, you know, a previous generation, and all that
Mhm.
stuff doesn't help. It's like when people grow up, they change. And every kind of culture and every kind of people change and evolve. And it's funny, it's like I talk to like some of my Jewish friends, and it's like they say, when I go to Germany, they treat me great there. So it just shows that like changes can be made. We don't need to hold on to the past and grudges and things like that.
Some of the most amazing changes can take place if you're able to look through the programming
Yeah,
and you know to see through some of the lies and some of the um, some of the feelings of guilt or of you know division and hatred that have been installed even in our generation.
exactly, exactly, and it's just ridiculous. But some I think like right now in our global culture, it's more of a feeling that people have of helplessness. That like you know one person is sitting there and they're saying, "What can I do? I'm not a politician. I'm not a celebrity. I'm not this. Like my voice has no weight in the
Mhm.
way that the globe is moving, like what goes on internationally or through people. But just I think by having these interactions, we don't need to look at ourselves as helpless and powerless. We can say like now we have this amazing tool called the internet and technology, and we can reach out to like-minded people and do something without like celebrity endorsements or the government or some corporation behind us. You know what I'm saying?
I feel helplessness is often rooted in a sense of disconnection. You know, so if you feel disconnected from the people around you, from nature, from your natural environment, from your social environment, if you're disconnected from your family members, then and if you're disconnected from even your true self, you know, from who you truly are, or if you never even thought about that or have inquired about that, then you know I can understand why that expression is you can see that easily all over the place nowadays. And then within that though lies like a great opportunity, because the more helpless or the more disconnected everybody around is, you know the more obvious all of that situation becomes as well, and then the more I feel people also turning towards a solution. You know, the
Hmm.
bigger if you have a really big problem, if the shit really hits the fun, like you know, and hits even the ones in the last row, then you know eventually people will like say, oh geez, what is that, and will want to
Yeah,
do
yeah.
something about it, you know?
It'll wake up like I don't want this shit hitting me. Like what's doing this? What's behind all this? And people start
Mhm.
to wake up, you know, and that's
Yeah.
what I love when people they ask themselves, you know, like is this really what needs to be going on? And they get up and do something, and that's what I love galvanizing, you know?
Mm.
Yeah, yeah. Is that how you feel? So Dennis, I guess we're kind of running out of time here. What's the one thing that you would want? I guess I'm gonna go a little heavy. Your legacy to be just that you leave behind and people kind of look at.
My legacy. um wow, once I go, oh you know we never know when we go, right? It could
All
be
right, you
tomorrow.
never know, man.
So
Yeah.
hmm, my legacy right now I would say is to
See many people.
encourage everybody to just look for who we truly are, you know, and to go beyond the illusion, to go to develop, you know, to take away all those peels of the onion, you know, and to go to the core of everything, and to try, you know, to try to cut through all the layers of the bureaucracy of the system of the
Yeah,
you know
I mean,
of of the
yeah.
manipulation, and to really cut through to the core to who we
That's
really are and discover that.
that's That's very great. Good, Dennis. That's beautiful. And the thing is that I think like we kind of made layers of bureaucracy inside of ourselves because sometimes I think we don't want to have that vulnerability and that thing for people to really get to know us because we might be afraid of the judgment, and this
Mm,
creates kind of like layers. But it's just such a relief when we kind of get rid of those layers, and it's like, okay, you cannot like who I genuinely am, but there's billions of people in this world, and I'm sure that I can just find a few people and be okay with that.
Definitely. And then if you want to share the perspective that the outside always reflects the inside, then if I apply that to my life, that means everything that manifests around me, everything, the joy, but also the pain and the fear or the violence, like everything that I see experience on the outside, it has to be mirrored in some way or form or shape on the inside as well. So in order to resolve the problems and the hardship on the outside, maybe we don't have to go far. Maybe we don't have to cross the world and go to Jamaica or wherever it is. But maybe it's actually
Right,
just
right.
to go within and to
To
find
go with
a solution for those things and to come to terms with that on the inside. And maybe that alone will also trigger a change on the outside. But of course, like I enjoy working on both, on the inside and on the
yes,
outside, and
yes,
have that
yes.
influence in a
Yes,
whole.
and you every day you just refine that. You just get better and better at it, and every failure is just that one step to success. It's
Hmm.
just that you go ahead.
And philosophy is doing just that, isn't it? So
Yes,
that's why I enjoy that.
yes,
That would be
yes.
my most important thing about philosophy, to have
Exactly.
it be a process that helps us on our journey within,
Hmm,
to
hmm.
define who we really are, to
Yeah.
define where we come from, who we are, and where we're going. So that
Okay.
that is what I enjoy about philosophy.
Very nice. Thank you so much, Dennis. I will leave it at that note. It all comes full circle. And thank you so much for being a part of this.
Thank you so much, Ariel. Really appreciate the opportunity, and looking forward to spending many more hours on your new channel. All the
Oh,
best.
thank you. Thank you.
I'm
My
glad to be a
pleasure.
part.
My pleasure. See you later, Dennis.